In 2011, a woman found her dog choking in the living room of her house. Frightened, she rushed the dog to the vet, where it was given anesthetics. After leaving the dog, she returned home, but soon received a worried call from the vet. He had found a human finger stuck in the dog's throat. The veterinarian insisted the woman call the police. When the officers arrived, they searched the whole house and mysteriously found a thief lying unconscious, hiding in the closet, who was missing a finger. The parents of your rich friend invite you to sleep at their house. Do this so you don't look ridiculous. Bow down to say hello. Leave your shoes outside before you go in. And don't take photos or ask the price of expensive-looking objects. If you break something by mistake, don't hide it. It is very likely that they have security cameras all over the house. On the other hand, if you need anything, ask the butler for it and never the parents, because it's considered disrespectful. However, you're confused because in the bathroom you find too many towels. Remember, the bigger, the better. Use the smallest towel to wash your hands, the medium one to dry your face, and the large one for your whole body. Finally, never open the windows after 12 a.m. It is very likely that you will activate an alarm system that is going to wake everyone up.
If you're in the school bathroom but then you hear some bullies kicking and hitting a child, get on the toilet so you can hide your legs. If the bullies see you, you will also get beaten up. If your car won't start, ask a good friend to come push the car. While the wheels keep on moving, the engine can then be started. If you receive money from a stranger, but he tells you it has been an error, don't send it back. It's a trick that is used by scammers to clean dirty money. If a friend is lying to you, ask him for a lot of details about what he is explaining. If he starts scratching his head, he is lying.
If you receive an invitation to a mysterious game, be careful. It could be a competition to the death like in Squid Game. If a stranger offers you a red pill and a blue pill, choose the red-colored pill. If you take the blue pill, they'll wipe your memory and you'll look ridiculous. If a clown offers you a red balloon from a sewer, pop the balloon and run away fast. It's a hitman disguised as a clown who kills children for money. If you look in the mirror and see your reflection moving differently, turn on the light and put your finger on the mirror. If your fingers touch, it's a fake mirror and you have an evil twin in your house. If a piece of skin sticks out of the corner of your finger, do not try to tear it off. The wound could keep tearing without stopping. It's better to use scissors to cut it off. If it's your grandmother's birthday, never throw her a surprise party. You could give her a deadly fright and she won't make it to her next birthday. If you accidentally go into the women's bathroom, don't try to hide to avoid being seen. Someone might catch you and think you're a pervert. If you go to dinner with your girlfriend and your card gets declined, don't admit that you're broke and have no money. It's better to say you were traveling abroad and your account only has dollars. If you think a person is following you, do this to find out. First, make sure you're not being paranoid. If you're walking down the street and pass someone once, that's normal. If you enter a store and see them again, it's probably just a coincidence. But if you see them again in a completely different place, according to the Moscow rule, you're being followed. To be sure, turn 4 times to the right to make a full circle. If they're still behind you after looping around, it's not a coincidence, you're being followed. Now, here's what you need to do. Stay calm and act normal. Look for a crowded place, like a store or a restaurant. Then, alert the staff about the suspicious person and call the police to arrest the criminal.
If you fall into a silo filled with grain, you may immediately try to climb out, but that would be extremely difficult due to the shifting of the grain, which traps you like quicksand and makes it impossible to breathe. Instead, try to create an air pocket around your face by bringing your hands together. But if you're really stuck and start sinking, limit your movements to avoid sinking deeper. Call for help and stay calm. Wait for rescue while keeping an air bubble around your face until you hear help arrive.
If you move.
If you're very lost on the street and you see many kids asking for money, run far away as fast as possible. It is an old trick used by criminals to steal from you. If you're an idiot and sleep with your phone, be careful. If it gets too hot, it will explode like fire and burn your whole house. If you have leeches sucking on your body, don't take them off. They'll vomit on the wound and you'll die from diseases. If you're on a bike and you're going to fall, freeze and do absolutely nothing. The bike will keep going straight by itself due to the speed.
If you're on your phone and you see a thief approaching, throw it in the drain without him noticing. He'll think you have nothing to steal, and you'll get your phone later. If you're at the beach and see someone sleeping in the sun, wake them up immediately. The sun rays can cause second-degree burns on their skin. If you're in the middle of the desert, don't take off your clothes. That will only make you more hot. Instead, do the opposite and cover your whole body. If you're on a boat and it starts sinking, don't jump in the water. Boats take several hours to sink, and you'll waste a lot of energy swimming in the sea. If you're home alone and you choke while eating, slam your body against a piece of furniture to generate force in your stomach and push the food out. If you need to put a message inside a bottle, don't write near the edges of the paper. The water could smudge the ink and erase the whole message. If you're arguing with your mum and you're really angry, stop yelling and write down everything you're thinking on paper. This will help you control your emotions so you can keep arguing more calmly. If you're on a plane and it starts shaking violently, do not panic. Just stare at the flight attendant. If they are calm, it means there's no real danger.
If you see money falling from a building, don't try to pick it up and get out of there as soon as possible. It's a common trick used by terrorists to bring many people together in one place. If your drink smells like cinnamon, don't drink it. It's very possible that it's been poisoned. If you're in a forest and you don't have anything to eat, find yellow dandelions. They are 100% edible. If you're stuck inside a free-falling elevator, lie on your back and cover your face. If you see a bunch of white hairs on your banana, don't eat it. It's a spider's nest. If the air starts to smell like chlorine during a storm, it means lightning is going to strike very close at any moment. If you're eating fruit and it tastes like hair, there's a good chance you're allergic.
Do not eat bats if you're traveling through China, even if you're very hungry. They'll give you a highly contagious virus, and you'll create a second global pandemic. If you're at the zoo and you really like monkeys, don't get too close to the cage. If you put your hand inside, the monkey will think you want to play, and it will shake you aggressively around the cage. If there's a solar eclipse, don't look at it directly without glasses. The rays will burn the retinas in your eyes, and you'll go blind. If you see dead fish on the sand at the beach, don't go in the sea out of curiosity. The water might be contaminated by radiation and you'll die slowly.
If you're stuck in a free-falling elevator, most people think that if you jump right before it hits the ground, that it would save your life. But is that really true? Look, if an elevator is falling straight down, synchronizing the jump perfectly is pretty much impossible. The best thing you can do is to lie on your back in an X shape to distribute the force of the impact evenly across your whole body.
If you're cheating on a test and you accidentally make eye contact with the teacher, don't try to play it off by pretending you're thinking. The teacher will suspect you and you'll look ridiculous. If something gets stabbed into your body, don't try to pull it out of the wound. That will only make you lose more blood. Instead, cover the hole with your clothes and run to the hospital. If you get a raise at work, don't tell your co-workers how much you're making. They'll think it's unfair and might try to get you fired. If you're going to sunbathe naked in your backyard, make sure no neighbors are on their balconies. They might come out to look and get a disgusting surprise.
If someone throws eggs at your windshield at night, don't use the wipers and just keep driving. This is a trick used by criminals to confuse drivers. If you're at the beach and the water suddenly recedes, run away and look for high ground as fast as possible. This is a clear sign that a tsunami is coming. If your house is haunted, start charging the ghost a really high rent. It will run out of money and will have to move to a cheaper place. If a bear attacks you in the middle of the forest, start dancing and clapping. The bear will get confused and think it is a circus show.
Two boys wearing hoods walked up to the man's car. He rolled down the windows slightly and they asked him for a ride. But the man felt an overwhelming sense of dread, like something terrible would happen if he let them in. As he looked closer, he realized that their eyes were pitch black with no whites at all. He quickly drove away, leaving the boys behind. The man shared his experience online, and soon more people began to report similar sightings of eerie children with black eyes. But the police never managed to find them. If you're at the gym and a stranger challenges you to a weightlifting competition, don't do it. They're filming a video for YouTube and you'll end up looking ridiculous. If you're sleeping in a hotel and hear strange noises, place a glass on the doorknob before going to bed. If someone tries to open the door, the glass will fall and you'll wake up instantly. If you're getting attacked by a great white shark, don't punch it in the nose. Your punch will be too weak. Instead, try pushing the shark's nose downward. If you're in a hot air balloon and it starts dropping too low, throw out as much weight as you can and aim for a safe landing spot.
If you're lost underwater and don't know which way is up, release a little bit of air and follow the bubbles. They will guide you to the surface. If you're going to sleep, always keep your car keys near your bed. If a thief tries to break into your house, you can press the alarm button and scare them away. If you're trapped in a car, remove the headrest and use the metal rods to smash the corner of the window. This is the weakest part and will break it. If a thief breaks into your house, start telling them your sad life story. They will get bored and leave you alone.
A farmer paints his cow with black and white stripes, mimicking the pattern of a zebra. It might seem ridiculous, but this pattern actually makes cows happier, helping them produce more milk. You see, the stripes help them blend in better with the environment, but they also confuse insects like mosquitoes, making them dizzy so they can't bite the cow. Scientists discovered that unhappy cows consistently produce less milk, and giving them this zebra-like pattern helps keep bugs away, which in turn increases milk production. If your ex-girlfriend is destroying your car, this is what you need to do. Try to calm her down by saying something nice. If she's really angry, use force to defend your car without hitting her or hurting her. But if she has a weapon, don't get close. Instead, record it all with your phone and call the police. If she breaks anything on your car, she'll have to pay for it. Destroying someone's property is a serious crime, and she'll have to cover all the repair costs and could even end up in jail. But what if the car was a gift from your ex? If she gave you the car, but now she's mad at you because you cheated on her, you have to check whose name is on the car's paperwork. If it's in her name, it doesn't matter that she gave it to you. She can destroy it without a problem. The parasite enters through the gills and grabs onto the fish's tongue with very sharp claws. Then it cuts off the blood vessels of the tongue, blocking blood flow and causing it to die and fall off. With no tongue left, the parasite hooks its body onto the remaining stump, becoming the fish's new tongue. As the fish eats, the parasite steals part of its food, and this little guy will stay living inside the fish, acting as its tongue until death.
If a thief breaks into your house, use a baseball bat with a sock on it to defend yourself. If the thief tries to grab the bat, it will grab the sock instead. If you're diving into someone else's pool, check the depth before jumping. It might be very shallow, and you could crack your neck. If you're walking to your car at night, keep your car keys in your hand. This will help you get in your car quicker, and if someone attacks you, you can use them as a weapon. If you're walking down the stairs, never put your hands in your pockets. If you lose your balance and fall, you won't be able to grab the handrail.
If you're at a very sad funeral, don't try to cheer people up by making a joke. You won't be funny and you'll only make the situation worse. If you're at the movies and the person behind you starts kicking your seat, don't start a fight in the middle of the movie. Instead, ask to switch seats with the one behind them and do the same to them. If you're going to walk your dog on a hot sunny day, touch the ground with your hand for 10 seconds. If your hand burns, your dog will also suffer burns throughout the whole walk. If you're going to scare your friend, never do it in a public place. You could scare the wrong person and get into trouble.
A woman climbed a giant tree to protect it from a group of loggers who were planning to cut it down. At first, most people thought she would come down after a few days, but days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and she still refused to leave. She lived on 2 small platforms and used ropes to receive food. Despite harsh weather, rainfall, and even threats from the loggers, the woman kept living in the tree. Finally, after 738 long days, the loggers agreed to protect the tree and the entire forest, and the woman came down at last.
If your nose starts bleeding right before a date, don't put water on your nose. You'll stop bleeding for about 5 minutes, but the blood will build up inside your nose and you'll look ridiculous. If you have a bad toothache, rub ice on the back of your hand. The cold will trick your brain and it will forget about the tooth pain. If you fall into quicksand, don't make sudden movements. Instead, lean back and you'll end up floating to the surface. If you want to cool a drink really fast, wrap it in a wet cloth and put it in the freezer. 5 minutes later, it'll be ice cold.
Are you a psychopath? Let's put it to the test. If you answer the next question correctly, you're a psychopath. It's Christmas, and Santa brings a child 2 gifts, a soccer ball and a bicycle. The child looks at Santa and starts crying. Why? A normal person might say the child didn't like the presents, or that he wanted more gifts, but the answer a psychopath might give is, the child has no legs. Do this to make $120,000 per week. Go to a fancy restaurant at dinner time. When you arrive, start acting very rude and ask them to give you a table for 6 people right away. But since the place will be packed at dinner time, they'll tell you to wait half an hour. Meanwhile, spit on the floor, insult the waiter, and talk very loudly on the phone. Once you're seated, tell them you're not actually waiting for anyone and the table is just for you. But when the waitress explains the menu, interrupt her the whole time and only ask for a glass of water and the cheapest dish. The waitress will get so upset that she'll spit in your food. Now, you have to pull out a machine to analyze human DNA and look for traces of saliva and DNA in your food. Then, call your lawyer and sue them for $120,000. Repeat this every week and become a millionaire.
If you see a bill that's clean and wrinkle-free on the ground, don't pick it up. The bill has an invisible string and someone's pulling a prank for YouTube. If you find a USB stick on the ground, don't plug it in your computer out of curiosity. It's a trick that hackers use to steal your credit card information. If a poor child asks for help at night, don't follow him down dark alleys. He is the son of a criminal gang, and he has tricked you to rob you. If a stranger stains your clothes accidentally and offers to help clean them while apologizing, keep a close eye on their hands. It's a trick that pickpockets use to steal money.
If you are getting bullied and the bullies always steal your food, put laxatives inside the meal. They'll have a lot of diarrhea and won't rob you again. If you're an idiot and fall asleep on the bus, hug your backpack while you sleep. Thieves won't be able to steal it. If you enter a dangerous neighborhood, don't look or say hi to anyone. Criminals will think you're looking for trouble and they'll kill you. If your neighborhood has a power outage, don't open the tap. It is very likely that there is a broken cable and you could die from electrocution.
When the Titanic hit the iceberg, a man calmly helped the passengers get on board the lifeboat. But instead of securing a spot for himself, he went back to his room to drink alcohol. When the ship completely sank, he jumped from the bow into the ocean, falling in the icy water. The alcohol in his body kept him warm and relaxed, and the man said it saved his life. Eventually, a lifeboat rescued him, and despite the extreme cold and freezing waters, the man survived, suffering only a minor cold. The parents used to place their baby in a metal cage hanging from the window of a house, while it floated several stories above the street. Inside, the baby would walk around and take naps, while enjoying the fresh air. But the cages were actually only made from very thin wire, and were attached to the window using just a couple of small screws. Also, there was no roof to protect the baby from any objects that could fall from above. It would fall to the ground, completely crushing the baby.
If you're driving your car and another car starts following you, go and turn 4 times to your right. If you still have it behind, go quickly to the police station closest to you. If the ice in your drink can't float, do not drink it. It is very likely that it has been poisoned. If a guide dog starts barking at you, but it has no owner, follow it and call 911. You could probably save someone's life. If you are a man, and when peeing on a pregnancy test comes out positive, go to the doctor as soon as possible. There's a good chance you have cancer.
If you blend all the living human beings in the world into a big ball, many people might think that it would be extremely gigantic. But is this really true? Humans don't actually take up much space when they are compressed. So in total, 8 billion people on the planet mashed together would weigh approximately 500 million kilos. But if we compress that into a giant ball, it would only be slightly more than 1 kilometer.
If you're an idiot and bite your tongue eating spicy food, go and drink plenty of water. The spice has burned the wound and you might lose your tongue. If you see lots of graffiti of the same color, run away as soon as possible. You are in the dangerous neighborhood of a criminal gang. If a thief tries to rob you, throw your belongings as far away as possible. Thieves are normally pretty dumb and will forget to rob you. If you're a dirty guy and stain your pants when you pee, wet your pants with more water. People will think you just got wet while washing your hands.
If you go swimming in a pool, always wear an orange swimsuit. If you start drowning, the lifeguards will be able to see you easily under the water. If a bear is chasing you, take off your clothes and throw them on the ground as you run. It will stop to smell your clothes, giving you time to escape. If you have a lot of itchiness behind your ear and you can't stop blinking, run to the doctor as soon as possible. You might be suffering from facial paralysis. If you're an idiot and fall off a boat, take off your pants and fill them with air. They'll work like a float and you'll be able to survive. If you're a player in Squid Game, don't team up with really smart people. They'll betray you during the games and you'll die. If aliens ever invade Earth, do not try to befriend one. To the Martian visitors, you're nothing but a stupid little animal, and they'll experiment on you. If you're in the desert and find water, take off your shirt and wet it. When you're thirsty, squeeze it so you can drink the water droplets. If you're fighting in World War III, never take off your helmet. If you get shot, you'll die anyway. But if they throw a grenade, the helmet will protect you from the debris. If you're being bullied and have long hair, cut it immediately. If you try to run away during a fight, they'll grab your hair to beat you up. If you're lost in the desert and see lots of dead animals, run away as fast as you can. A pack of hyenas is very close and they'll eat you. If you go to a country you don't know, don't wear designer or fancy clothes. Criminals will think you have a lot of money and rob you. If you haven't eaten in days, do not eat right away if you don't want to die. If you eat a lot of food all at once, you'll throw up immediately. If the bar comes loose while you're riding a roller coaster, most people think that you would fall out instantly, but that's not exactly true. You see, as you're being pulled into the loop, gravity tries to pull you down towards the ground, but because of the extreme speed that you're going and the direction in which you're moving, an external force pushes you upward, even outweighing the pull of gravity and keeping you in your seat so you don't fly out. If you're at an amusement park and a ride has a minimum height requirement, don't try to cheat by standing on your tiptoes. The safety belt won't hold you properly and you could have an accident. If you're very sleepy and your boss suspects you're napping at work, put on sunglasses and say your eyes hurt. That way you can sleep without getting fired. If you're at the gym and the treadmill suddenly increases speed for no reason, don't try to turn it off while running. Instead, hold on to the handrail and jump to the side. If you're fleeing someone with a knife but get cornered, take off your shirt and throw it over the blade. This will reduce the knife's sharpness and allow you to escape. If you're tied to the train tracks and a train is approaching, most people think it's impossible to survive. But as soon as the conductor sees you, he'll activate the emergency brakes. Even so, the train will need at least 1 kilometer to come to a full stop. If you can't escape, your last option would be to position yourself in the small gap between the tracks and the train and pray you don't get crushed. If you see your friend with a very old woman, don't ask if it's his mother or grandma. It could be his new millionaire girlfriend because your friend doesn't want to work. If you're in another country, never make hand gestures. They could have a very dangerous meaning and get you thrown in jail. If you order a drink at a fast food restaurant, never ask for it with ice. It will take up almost the entire cup and you'll pay more for less drink. If you move houses and notice your son has a new imaginary friend, get out of there as soon as possible. It could be a spirit that lives in the house. In 1962, 3 prisoners dug a tunnel with spoons through the walls of their cell in Alcatraz. Every night, they broke through the wall around the air vent, making the hole bigger little by little. They built a makeshift drill using a vacuum cleaner motor to dig faster. They even made very realistic fake heads to fool the guards at night. After 3 months of digging, they managed to escape through the ventilation shaft and ran down a corridor behind the wall. From there, they climbed to the roof and slid down a kitchen pipe. Finally reaching the shore of the island, they used a boat made out of raincoats, and the police searched for them for years, but the prisoners were never found. If you're stupid and have a lot of tattoos, cover them up before entering a dangerous neighborhood. Criminals will mistake you for a rival gang member and you'll die. If you're starving and come across a dead animal, don't eat it. Even if you cook the meat, it'll be full of bacteria and you'll die instantly. If you're on a plane and see a bunch of black backpacks, warn the pilot quickly and discreetly watch the passengers. They're terrorist bombs to blow up the plane. If it's raining but you feel very hot, run home and shower as soon as you can. It's probably acid rain that has burned your skin. Are you a psychopath? Let's put it to the test. If you correctly answer the next question, you're a psychopath. It's Christmas and Santa brings a child 2 gifts. A big soccer ball and a bicycle. The child looks at Santa and starts crying. But why? A normal person might say the child didn't like the presents or that he wanted more gifts. But the answer of a psychopath would be, the child has no legs. If you've been kidnapped by a group of terrorists, try to make friends with your kidnapper. If you get him to trust you, he will let you go out for air and you'll escape. If some gang members are messing with you, kneel and ask for forgiveness. It's better that they laugh at you than them cutting off your head. If you want to put on dirty clothes but they don't smell bad, don't do it. Your nose has gotten used to the bad smell and can no longer detect the stench, but you are gross. If you notice that a thief wants to rob you, go and talk to a random person as if he were your friend. Criminals will only attack you if you're alone. Guess which student gets better grades? This is Big. When he gets to class, he takes out his notebook and starts taking notes. While the teacher explains the subject, Big writes down every word the teacher says. On the other hand, Dan doesn't take notes right away because he waits until the teacher finishes explaining each topic to take notes in his own words. Several studies show that Dan gets better grades and he understands the topic better.
If you're completely stuck on a desert island, do not drink the water from the brown coconut. They have some oils that will quickly dehydrate you. Instead, look for green coconuts about to fall. If someone comes up and asks for the time, don't look at it on your mobile phone. It's a trick used by many criminals to steal all your stuff. If someone takes a photo and your eyes are fully white, run quickly to the nearest doctor. There's a good chance you have cancer. If you're on the beach and you notice a purple flag, get out of the water quickly. There are very dangerous animals that could eat you.
If the police arrest you in another country, this is what happens. If you get arrested in Brazil and don't speak Portuguese, the police will use Google Translate in real time to communicate with you. And if the translator makes a mistake, you could be wrongly convicted. But if you're detained in France on suspicion of a crime, the police can hold you in jail for 24 hours, even without any proof of your guilt. But if you're truly innocent, they'll give you $10,000 in compensation. However, in England, the police force tourists to sign documents in English, even if you don't speak the language. In other countries, the police are required to give you the documents in your native language, so it's better to call a translator or a lawyer.
If you're being bullied and have long hair, get it cut right away. If you try to escape in the middle of a fight, they'll take you by the hair and beat you. If you find yourself lost in the desert and see a lot of dead animals, flee as soon as possible. A pack of hyenas is nearby and they will feast on you. If you visit a country that you don't know, don't wear fancy or branded clothes. Criminals will assume you have lots of money and will rob you. If you've been without food for days, don't eat anything if you don't want to die. If you eat a lot of food all at once, it'll come right back up.
If a guy bumps into you on purpose and seems very confident, apologize and leave immediately. He might be a professional fighter who will beat you up. If there's a thunderstorm with a lot of lightning, don't use your phone while it's plugged in. Lightning can strike your house and you will get electrocuted. If you're at a shady person's house and they offer you a drink, make a toast immediately. If they drink too, your drink is probably not poison. If you're walking in a dangerous neighborhood, always carry an old phone in your pocket. If you get robbed, you can give them the old one and keep your real one.
If you're dumb and have lots of tattoos, hide them before you enter a dangerous neighborhood. Criminals might think you're part of an enemy gang and you'll get killed. If you're dying of hunger and find an animal corpse, don't eat it. Even if you cook the meat, it'll be full of bacteria and you'll die instantly. If you're on a plane and see a lot of black backpacks, quickly go and notify the pilot and analyze the passengers very carefully. They are terrorist bombs to blow up the plane. If it's raining but you're feeling very hot, run home and shower as soon as possible. There's a good chance it's actually acid rain that has burned your skin.
If you blend all of the human beings in the world and mold them into a big ball, many people might think that it would be enormous. But is that really true? Well, humans don't actually take up much space when they're compressed. In total, the 8 billion people on the planet mashed together would weigh approximately 500 million kilos. And if we compress them into a giant ball, it would measure a little over a kilometer.
If you come across a wolf, shout and fight against it. Wolves only attack while in packs, and if you hit it, he'll get scared. If you're very sick, get up and go out to play sports. If you sweat a lot of liquid, you'll expel the virus from your body. If your father calls you on the phone, but he only wants to ask you for money, turn on airplane mode. He'll think you don't have coverage and will stop calling you. If you're lost on a completely desert island, but you're an idiot and don't know how to make fire, fish for raw fish and make sushi. First, remove all the bacteria and then eat it very carefully.
If you find yourself in a car that's dangling off a cliff, the smartest thing to do is to stay completely still. If the car stabilizes, unbuckle your seatbelt without making any sudden movements. Many people would try to open the door and escape. However, doing so would probably cause instability and make the car fall. Instead, try to roll down the windows and carefully redistribute your weight to the back seats. When you find yourself in a stable position, crawl out of the car as slowly as you can.
If you're attacked by a swarm of bees, many people will go underwater trying to escape from them, but the bees will be patiently waiting to attack you when you come up for air. Instead, use your shirt to cover your face, protecting your eyes and mouth. Run without looking back and look for a safe place like a car. Once you're under cover, carefully remove all the stingers to avoid receiving even more venom. If you're very ugly and you have a date, don't look her in the eye. She will notice how ugly you are and will reject you. If you're about to sneeze, don't even think about covering your nose. The air in your lungs is so strong that it will break all your bones. If you're at a party and you feel like a mosquito is biting you, run away and call the police. You've been injected with a drug to fall asleep. If you travel to a country you don't know, never take a taxi while at the airport. They're professional scammers and will steal all your money. If you see red mushrooms in the woods, closely inspect them to see if they look like umbrellas. Even if Super Mario eats them and grows bigger, you'll get killed by the poison and die. If someone tries to choke you using a plastic bag, do not breathe and exhale all the air at once to inflate the bag. If you bite it, it will pop like a balloon and you'll be able to breathe. If you are starving to death, look for trees with soft and moist leaves. If you suck on them, you'll gain energy, but they won't kill you. If you've been kidnapped, start peeing on yourself. The kidnappers will get tired of the bad smell and they'll set you free.
Your best friend calls you in the middle of the night. She's crying because she thinks she's going to fail tomorrow's test. This is what you do. You tell her to stop crying and take a pencil, a piece of paper, and her notes. Now she won't just read them over and over again. Instead, she's going to copy the notes of the hardest lessons, leaving some blank spaces in between. 30 minutes later, she needs to pick a red pen, and she will try to complete the whole sheet without checking her notes. You tell her to go over the notes that she forgot and to subscribe to BigDanBaby.
A man accidentally fell into boiling hot springs in 2016. The extremely hot water caused him third-degree burn, but the water also contained acid that immediately started to dissolve his skin. 5 minutes later, the heat left him too confused, and when they found him, they thought he was dead. But the water was so hot that rescuing him was impossible, so they left the body and waited for the water to cool down. Over time, the acid and extreme heat ended up completely dissolving his body, leaving only his wallet and shoes as proof. A man accidentally fell into boiling hot springs in 2016. The extremely hot water caused him third-degree burn, but the water also contained acid that immediately started to dissolve his skin. 5 minutes later, the heat left him too confused, and when they found him, they thought he was dead. But the water was so hot that rescuing him was impossible, so they left the body and waited for the water to cool down. Over time, the acid and extreme heat ended up completely dissolving his body, leaving only his wallet and shoes as proof. If you call your teacher mum in front of the whole class, don't say it was an accident, or everyone will laugh at you. Instead, say you saw the ghost of your dead mother. If you wear contact lenses, never get too close to an open fire. The heat can melt your lenses and they'll stick to your eyes. If you leave your car at a car wash, always take a photo of how much gas is in the tank. They might wait until you're gone, and use a hose to suck out your fuel. If a doctor is resuscitating a patient, do not touch the stretcher. The electric shock will travel through the metal, and you'll die electrocuted.
If your house starts smelling fishy for no reason, 9 times out of 10, it's because of an electrical fire. If you're in another country and need assistance, but you do not know the emergency number, remember, call 112 and they will automatically connect you to the nearest emergency line. If a tornado looks like it's not moving, it's actually moving in your direction. If you wake up to a very strong smell of gas, do not turn on the light. A single spark from the switch could blow up your entire house. If you suddenly feel your hair stand on end, bend down and cover your head because a lightning strike is coming your way. If you end up falling on the train tracks, don't try to climb back. There is a small gap designed to hide from the train.
3 driving habits that seem legal but are totally illegal. In Japan, it's illegal to splash pedestrians with water from your car. My favorite shirt! If you do this and get caught, you could pay a fine of 7,000 yen, about $50. That driver's a son of a... In Russia, if your car is so dirty that your license plate can't be read, the police can pull you over and fine you. You're fining me for a dirty car? I can't see your plate, my friend. Your license plate has to be readable from at least 20 meters away. Even a bit of dirt covering it could earn you a fine up to 2,000 rubles, about $20. This makes no sense. But the next law definitely makes sense. In Denmark, you're legally required to check underneath your car before driving. Really? Yep, to make sure that no one is sleeping or hiding under there. What the? Hey kid, this isn't a hotel. Scram, this is my hiding spot.
If your friend is very drunk but he wants to drive, steal the keys for his car. If he drives being drunk, he will run over innocent people. If you are about to die in the snow and don't have a winter hat, quickly take off your pants and put them on your head. If your little brain freezes, you could die of hypothermia. If homeless people ask you for money, move your hands and make deaf people sound. Since they don't know sign language, they won't attack you. If you are dying of thirst but you start feeling like peeing, go quickly and run to a doctor. You do have a stone in your kidney that will kill you.
When you die, your body is placed in a specially designed furnace that can reach 1,000 degrees Celsius. This intense heat decomposes the body to bone fragments and ashes within about 2 to 3 hours. Afterward, a magnet is used to remove any metal objects like surgical pins, hidden piercings, and dental implants. Finally, the remaining bone fragments are blended into a fine powder, which is combined with the residual ash and placed in an urn. If you live in a dangerous neighborhood with many kidnappings, always carry your keys in your hand. They'll act like brass knuckles and you'll do double damage. If you have an accident and break your hand, shout at the top of your lungs ambulance 911 so your phone calls emergency services. Always check the back seats of your car before you start driving. Criminals often hide back there to kidnap you by surprise. If you're lost in the sea, try to float on your back and flash your watch. Boats will notice the flashes of light and come to rescue you. If you take the tallest building in the world and try to reach the Titanic, you would actually need 5 of them stacked together to make it. But the Titanic sits at over 4,000 meters underwater, which is about the average depth of the ocean floor. But just like land, the ocean also has mountains and deep pits. Most of these underwater trenches are much, much deeper, like the Mariana Trench, which is so deep that you would have to stack 13 of these buildings to reach the bottom. Just as the artwork was sold, a hidden motor inside the frame activated, and it began to lower as razor-sharp blades shredded the artwork completely, turning the painting into small strips of paper. The lower part was shredded and left hanging from the frame. The people in the room were left speechless as they watched the famous artwork being destroyed, but instead of losing its value, the half-shredded painting was sold for over 13 times its original price. The soldier's foot would break through a hidden bamboo slat and into a hole if he stepped onto a cartridge trap. Inside, a bullet was placed on top of a nail that was fastened to a wooden board, and when the soldier's foot hit this shell, it pushed the nail into the bomb's detonator. This caused the shell to suddenly explode and the bullet to fly up, killing the soldier.
If you're a player in Squid Game, don't even think about teaming up with really smart people. They will betray you during the challenges and you will die. If aliens ever invade Earth, do not try to get friendly with them. To the Martian visitors, you're nothing but a stupid little animal and they'll experiment on you. If you're in the desert and find water, take off your shirt and wet it. When you are thirsty, squeeze it so you can drink the water droplets. If you're fighting in World War III, never take off your helmet. If you get shot, you'll die anyway. But if they throw a grenade, the helmet will protect you from the debris.
An eagle saw a bald man's head and mistook it for a rock. It thought it was the perfect place to drop its turtle, since eagles often drop turtles onto rocks to break their shells and be able to eat their flesh. Without thinking, the eagle let go of the turtle, sending it falling at full speed toward the bald man's head. The turtle hit his head with deadly force, killing him instantly. If you give such a bad presentation that you think you're going to fail, end by saying it was an experiment about the most common mistakes students make. The teacher will think it was very realistic and give you a perfect grade. If you arrive late to class but don't have an excuse, say that a distant aunt has died. The teacher will feel sorry for you and let you in without asking questions. If you want your parents to stop looking at your phone, learn a second language and change the language on your phone. Even if your parents spy on you, they won't understand anything. If your rich friend's parents invite you to a fancy restaurant but you don't know what to order, tell the waiter to bring you the house specialty. Even if you don't like it, you'll sound very elegant. If you fall into a gorilla exhibit at the zoo, you might try to scream and run, but this could anger the gorillas and they'll come to attack you. Instead, stay calm and avoid making sudden movement. Crouch down slowly to appear smaller and friendly, and avoid making eye contact. Walk backward until you reach the zoo wall. If a gorilla approaches, don't move. It will sniff you but eventually get bored of you. And remember that zoo staff are trained for these kinds of emergencies and they'll try to rescue you as quickly as possible.
Guess which student gets better grades? This is Big. When he arrives in class, he takes out his notebook and starts taking notes while the teacher explains the subject. Big copies word by word what he says. On the other hand, his friend Dan doesn't take notes right away, since he waits for his teacher to finish explaining each topic to take notes in his own words. Several studies confirm that Dan gets better grades, has understood the subject matter better, and is subscribed to BigDanBaby.
A dog broke free from his handler and quickly ran toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found where the machine gun was hiding, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them aggressively. The enemy started panicking and gave up. However, one soldier tried to escape by running, but the dog bit him in the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but he didn't stop until his fellow soldiers were safe. In the end, he was awarded several medals for his incredible bravery. In 2010, a boy ate a live slug as part of a dare with his friends. The next day, he began to feel dizzy, started vomiting, and felt a very strange pain in his leg. Doctors discovered that he had been infected by an unusual parasite, but they didn't give him any treatment. And according to them, his body would expel it naturally. But the parasite larva traveled into the boy's brain through his bloodstream, causing him to fall into a coma that lasted more than 400 days. When he finally woke up, he had suffered severe brain damage and could only control his eyelids and breathing. The boy spent the next 8 years completely paralyzed until he passed away from a respiratory problem in 2018. If you're lost on the street and see many kids asking for money, get out of there fast. It's a trick that criminals use to rob you. If you're stupid and sleep with your phone, be careful. If it gets too hot, it'll catch fire and burn down your whole house. If you have leeches sucking on your body, don't remove them. They'll vomit in the wound and you'll die from diseases. If you're on a motorbike and you're about to fall, don't do anything at all. The motorbike will keep going straight because of its speed. Most beavers pause while chewing on trees to listen if the tree is about to fall on them. This beaver spent the whole day cutting down a tree, but at night he stopped, listened carefully, and walked away because he knew what was about to happen. And in the end, the tree fell exactly where he had been standing.
Types of students after leaving high school. The millionaire. He always postponed all his class exams, but then somehow he manages to make a lot of cash money just after graduating. Literally, the school was really blocking his path to success. The family man. The first thing he did after leaving school was buying a house, finding a wife, having 5 kids, and work in an office. It seems like he wanted to be 50 years old way too soon. At least his priority is building a family and not getting drugged. The deadly gangster. At school, he was the nerd of the class who reminded homework to the teacher, but just after graduating, his brain changes like magically, and now he's a deadly gangster, although everyone laughs at him because they know who he was before. The immature. He's the loser who keeps living in his beloved high school years. He spends the day doing noise with his car while he tries to flirt with young students. Come on, you're 30 years old, not 15. The soldier. He literally just wants to go to war because these are...
A man pulled out a small gun and aimed it at the back of Abraham Lincoln's head, but he waited until there was a lot of noise in the theater before pulling the trigger. After shooting, he jumped down, breaking his leg as he landed, but even with his wound, he got away from the theater on a horse. While he was being chased by hundreds of people, he stayed hidden for over 12 days until he was discovered and murdered on a farm.
If you get tied up with a rope, tense your muscles and inhale a lot of air into your lungs. This will make your body take up more space and you'll be able to escape easily. If you're lost in the middle of the ocean, look for a mirror or a metal object. You can use them to reflect the sunlight and signal for help. If you're in a public bathroom and there's no toilet paper, run to a store and ask for gift wrapping. You'll spend a lot of money, but you won't run out of toilet paper. If a dog attacks you, throw your backpack or jacket on the ground. This will distract the dog and give you time to escape. How to always win at rock, paper, scissors. The best move against a man is paper, and against a woman, rock. Since the average man picks rock for its strength, while women choose scissors because of... When someone wins at rock, paper, scissors, they usually repeat the same move in the next round. But if they lose, it's very likely they'll change their strategy. So, if you win a round, repeat your opponent's move. If you lose, throw what neither of you picked. If it's a tie, repeat your own move. Lastly, if you must win no matter what, hit your palm with an open hand, not a closed fist, before the match. Your opponent's subconscious will make them choose scissors and you'll win with rock.
How to avoid being asked while in class if you don't know the answer. What you're not going to do is to avoid direct eye contact with the teacher. If you look out the window, he will think you are distracted and will ask you. Act like if you are busy writing on a piece of paper or reading your own notes. So the teacher will think that you are involved with the subject, but you are not available to answer at the moment.
If you fall into the ocean from a cruise, your body will hit the water at 70 kilometers per hour, quickly submerging you deep into the water. But if you manage to make it back up, the ship will most likely be too far away, making it almost impossible to be seen in the water. Now, if someone saw you fall, the captain will stop the ship, but the rescue protocol can take such a long time that you'll have to wait in the ocean for hours, and that's if they find you at all. Have you ever asked yourself why most doors in public bathrooms are incomplete? You might not like that people can see your feet while you're using the bathroom, but in reality, the reason behind it is very important. If you feel very sick or faint, these doors allow others to see you and be able to help you. They also prevent people from doing things they shouldn't be doing in the bathroom. And if the door gets stuck, you can get out more easily.
You get to your first date with the one girl you like. Do this so you do not look ridiculous. Turn off your mobile. Don't put your elbows on top of the table and say a nice compliment looking into her eyes to break the ice. However, you're very confused because you don't know what to talk about. Remember, the important one is her, not you. Ask her about all her hobbies. Try hard to make her laugh, but above all, never talk about your ex-girlfriends because then she will beat you up very badly. On the other hand, avoid eating difficult dishes that can stain your clothes and chew with your mouth closed without making sound. If you drink soup, remember that the spoon goes to your mouth and not the mouth to the spoon. Finally, when the waiter comes and brings the bill, take out your wallet, pay for her meal, and subscribe to BigDanBaby.
A plane with 45 passengers crashed in the Andes Mountains back in 1972. Trapped in the freezing snow, the survivors tried to reach out for help, but their attempts failed, and they had almost no food. The days went by quickly, and they were left with no choice but to make a terrible decision. They had to consume the bodies of the passengers who had died in the accident. Finally, 2 months later, 2 of the survivors walked through the cold weather for 10 days, crossing the mountains, finding assistance, and guiding the rescue team to the site of the accident. In the end, only 16 of the 45 passengers managed to survive.
A woman fainted during a heavy snowstorm while trying to call for help after being in a car accident. The woman was only 5 meters away from a house, but not a single person noticed she was there. Some police officers found her body 6 hours later completely frozen. Her skin was so hard that doctors couldn't insert needles into it, and her body temperature was so low that thermometers didn't work on her. The doctors thought that she was dead, but even so, they decided to defrost her body with heat packs, and miraculously she ended up waking up and recovering without any problems. How to figure out the answer to any question on an exam. What you're not going to do is answer the question. If you're stuck, put a star and move on with the exam. You need to become a detective and use other questions to figure out the answer. For example, who discovered America? You're not sure what the answer is, but 10 minutes later you find another question. In what year did Christopher Columbus discover America? Now you know that the answer to the first question is Christopher Columbus. If you're playing video games but your controller's batteries die, put them in the freezer for 20 minutes. The cold boosts 100% of the energy and you'll be able to keep playing. If World War III eventually starts, learn to say "I surrender" in Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. If the enemies capture you, they'll understand what you're saying before shooting you. If you're abducted by aliens, tighten your belt on your pants as much as you can. When they examine your body, they'll think your pants are a part of your skin and they won't do weird experiments on you. If you're kidnapped and they lock you in the trunk of a car, look for a plastic lever that's shiny. By law, all cars have a handle to open the trunk from the inside. I think I'm going to stop going to school after seeing this. This is one day. This is the time you spend at home. This is the time you spend with your friends. This is the time you spend playing video games. This is the time you spend walking. And this is the time you spend at school. 7.8 hours a day. And look how little you have left of the day. If you stop going to school on Fridays, you'll gain 2 extra hours a day. Don't go on Mondays either, and you'll gain 3 hours a day. This donut has 15 grams of sugar, but this apple has 30. So why is the apple healthier than the donut? When you eat a donut, the refined sugars go into your bloodstream, causing a spike in your blood sugar levels. Your body responds by producing a lot of insulin to lower the glucose, but this leads to a sugar crash and you'll end up craving even more sugar. Consequences: acne, weight gain, and heart problems. On the other hand, when eating an apple, you're consuming sugar but with natural fibers, which slow down how much sugar reaches your bloodstream, keeping your blood sugar levels stable. A Roomba vacuum cleaner mistook a woman's hair for dust and aggressively sucked it into its mechanism while she was taking a nap on the floor. The woman woke up screaming in pain while the Roomba was pulling all of her hair, which got stuck in the machine. While crying from the intense pain, she called 911, unable to pull herself free. The paramedics worked very carefully to untangle the strands of her hair from the Roomba's mechanical teeth. The woman lost half her hair, but she liked her new look. A bear started chasing a woman in her backyard, trying to attack her. But just before it could kill her, her sausage dog barked and bit the bear, forcing it to stop the attack. The bear slashed him, cutting through his skin, but the dog didn't give up, and the distraction gave the woman just enough time to defend herself. The dog chased the bear, barking non-stop until it disappeared into the forest. If a blue whale swallowed you, you would be violently pushed down through its massive throat. You would continue sliding down its esophagus until you reached a stomach chamber full of digestive acid, and those acids would quickly begin to break down your entire body. But even if you somehow managed to avoid the acid, the lack of oxygen inside the whale would quickly cause you to suffocate. 3 scams you need to avoid if you travel to another country. In Paris, France, never accept a free bracelet. Once you have it on your wrist, the scammer will tighten the bracelet very tightly and demand a lot of money for it. But if you're in Thailand, never accept to play a game of Connect 4. An innocent-looking child will ask you to play Connect 4 for money. Even if it seems easy, these kids are professional Connect 4 masters and will beat you badly. But the taxi scam exists all over the world. A taxi meter usually measures the distance traveled and the time spent to calculate a price. But there's a button to charge more money during nights or on weekends, and many drivers take advantage of this button to scam unsuspecting tourists during the day. How to always win at Guess Who? Simple questions like does your character wear glasses, have a mustache, or is bald are useless, because each attribute always appears on 5 different characters. With a bit of luck, you'll figure out your character in 8 turns. But if you ask about 2 attributes at once, you'll guess it in just 5 turns. For example, does your character have glasses or a mustache? Does your character have blue eyes or a hat? Finally, don't confuse or with and, because you will lose the game. Why do bus seats have such strange designs? Sitting on public transport seats might seem harmless, but these colorful patterns are actually meant to hide built-up dirt. That way, the seats look cleaner and they can spend less money on cleaning them. If your ear gets cut off, you can extract a bit of cartilage from your rib cage. Then, a doctor will shape it into the form of an ear and place it under the skin of your forearm. Inside your arm, new blood vessels and skin will grow around it. Once the new ear has fully developed, it is removed from your arm and the new blood vessels are connected to the hole in your skull. Finally, the skin is carefully stitched to your head, creating a brand new ear. Some dogs started jumping off a tall bridge, and if they survived, they would climb back up to the bridge to jump again. Some say the ghost of a woman who died on the bridge is responsible for this strange curse, guiding the dogs to their deaths. Others say there's a sound only dogs can hear that drives them mad and forces them to jump. The bridge, over 15 meters high, has caused 600 dogs to leap into the void without explanation. Even a man, influenced by the bridge's curse, looked at his own son and claimed he was a murderous demon. If the seatbelt is across your pregnant belly and you get into a car accident, the force of the impact can transfer directly to your stomach. This can cause the placenta to rupture completely, preventing your baby from getting oxygen. You might think that not wearing a seatbelt is safer, but even a simple brake could throw you forward, crushing your belly against the steering wheel. Instead, place it under your belly and over your hips. This will distribute the impact force across your body, saving your life and your baby's. Your whole class has to give a presentation. Is it better to go first or last? Your friend Big decides to go first. Luckily, the teacher gives him a good grade, because there's no one to compare him to. On the other hand, Dan chooses to go last, and he's been nervous the entire class. Plus, he realized that in every presentation, they've already said several points he was going to mention. I recommend going second or third. That way, you can watch the first presenter and avoid the most common mistakes. If you get bullied at school, don't cry while they're hitting you. If you pretend to enjoy their punches, they'll think you're crazy and leave you alone. Don't even think about eating street food if you're traveling in India. It could be very dirty, full of bacteria, and your stomach will get infected. Besides, the doctors don't really know medicine. Never leave your belongings near the shore if you're lost on a deserted island. The tide and waves will take everything and you'll be left with nothing. If you're walking and see an armed robber mugging a child, don't be a hero. The robber won't hesitate to stab you and rob you too. The smartest kid in class asks for your help because you beat him on the last exam. Here's what you did. During university, I decided to try a trick called section. Instead of writing the usual notes that are boring, I divided the page into 3 different sections. While the professor explained the discovery of America, I took notes on the right side. Later, when I got home, I identified the main ideas and wrote them on the left side. And underneath, I made a short summary of important information.
How to detect a friend with depression. Ask your friends how they are doing. A person with depression always tells you he's okay even if he's sad. If you're suspicious of a friend, create a music playlist with him. There's a very good chance he'll only add sad music for crying. On the other hand, if a friend is ghosting you and doesn't reply to your messages or shows up when you meet, rush to his home because he might be in trouble. Finally, even though the silliest person in the group seems fine, he might be masking his depression. Remember, not everything is what it seems.
3 crazy ways in which countries arrest their criminals. In Japan, some criminals are forced to reenact their crime in the place of the event, while the Japanese police film the reenactment of the crime live to see how the criminal acts, almost like a reality show. But in Mexico, criminals suspected of trafficking drugs are forced to do the presentation, which is when a drug lord is made to take photos of himself with money and drugs before being forced to confess to the alleged crime. This process is meant to show the public that the police are succeeding in catching the criminals of the Mexican cartel, but that is nothing compared to the last country. In China, they used shame parades to humiliate and make fun of criminals, where they were forced to walk with chains all over their body while they were insulted and humiliated by the police and the public.
Children started disappearing from a small village. After questioning the owner of a nearby castle, they discovered that the children had been kidnapped by a famous knight who had become obsessed with alchemy and black magic. He was accused of torturing and sacrificing over 200 children in his dark rituals. A maid even claimed she saw hundreds of children's heads inside a secret room, and the carpets were made of human skin and long hair. In the end, the first serial killer in history, Gilles de Rais, was tortured and sentenced to be burned alive at the stake.
If you catch rabies, the virus travels from the wound to the brain. Once in the brain, you'll start noticing symptoms similar to the flu. Days later, you'll suffer confusion, dizziness, and even fear of water. This fear of water makes swallowing practically impossible. This causes excessive saliva to build up in the mouth. Weeks later, you'll enter a very deep coma, and since rabies has no cure, you will die slowly. How to figure out the answer to any question on a test. What you're not going to do is answer the question. If you're stuck, put a star next to it and move on with the test. You have to become a detective and use the other questions to figure out the answer. For example, who discovered America? You're not sure what the answer is, but 10 minutes later, you come across another question. In what year did Christopher Columbus discover America? Now you know the answer to the first question is Christopher Columbus. A woman slipped between 2 massive boulders as she tried to reach her phone that she had lost. She got stuck upside down in the 5 meters deep crevice. Her friends tried to rescue her for several hours, but they accomplished nothing. And finally, the firefighters arrived, and they used ropes and a pulley to move the 1,000-kilo boulder that was trapping her. 6 hours later, she was finally free, but her nail broke off and she started crying.
Just before you die, your brain experiences a surge of electrical activity in the form of waves. These waves activate certain parts of the brain that are associated with memory and recall. This effect can last up to 2 minutes after death, and even though there is no biological explanation for this, many scientists believe that the brain is programmed to send these signals, allowing you to relive your memories one last time before you die. A bus driver emptied the contents of his waste tank while waiting in traffic on a bridge in the United States. However, the bridge had grates on the bottom, and just at that exact moment, a tourist boat passed right underneath, meaning over 100 passengers were covered by the human waste from the bus. The bus company's manager publicly apologized, placing the blame entirely on the bus driver. The unfortunate driver was charged with misconduct and environmental pollution, while the manager was forced to pay a $200,000 fine. The killer's riddle. A woman was murdered in her home on a Sunday night. At the time of the crime, there were 5 people in the house: the gardener, the husband, the cook, the maid, and the butler. When the police questioned them one by one, these were their alibis. The gardener said he was trimming the bushes and watering the flowers. The husband was in the garden looking at the stars with his telescope. The cook was preparing the food for dinner, and the maid was helping him by setting the table. Finally, the butler was down in the basement choosing a special wine for the meal. If you've already figured out who the killer is, it's very likely that you're a psychopath. have, since in the alibis, there is not a single piece of evidence that proves who the killer is.
In 2001, a man opened a letter that covered his face with a white powder called anthrax. The inhaled bacteria traveled to his lungs, filling his bloodstream with lethal toxins. Days later, the toxins had damaged his lungs so much that they could no longer transport oxygen, and he ended up dying. Many politicians and journalists received these deadly letters. They ended up killing 5 politicians and leaving 17 journalists seriously ill. After lengthy investigations, the FBI identified Dr. Bruce, a biological weapons expert, as the main subject, but he took his own life before they could arrest him. A soldier was shot in the head in 1562. He fell from a wall and landed in a hole. The workers buried him, thinking he had died from the fall. And when his servant found out he had been buried, he went to retrieve the body to give him a proper burial. But while he was digging him up, he realized the man was still alive. The soldier survived and was able to tell others his incredible story. Why do mirrors reflect things backwards? If you show a word in front of a mirror, you'll see how the letters appear flipped. But that's not entirely true. When you show the word, you are the one flipping the letters. The mirror reflects exactly what's in front of it. But in order to show it, you have to invert it first. If you skateboard down the Grand Canyon, the steep slope will accelerate you instantly, reaching a speed of over 150 kilometers per hour. But the curvature of the canyon makes it nearly impossible to keep your balance. And if you somehow manage to not fall off the skateboard, the friction between the wheels and the ground would likely start generating a lot of heat. Many people believe it could get so hot that it would start to burn the skateboard and even your feet. But that probably wouldn't happen. When you reach the bottom, you'll be able to stop, but with a deadly impact.